I'm Angel Ramiro Sanchez. I was born in Venezuela, South America, and came quite young to Italy to study art and painting. Studied at the Accademia di Belle Arti of Firenze, the Fine Arts Academy, and also at the same time met the Florence Academy of Art, where I trained in the classical manner, learned to draw and paint from life, the figure, and which is actually what I was looking for. And that's why I came to Florence because it was, as everybody knows, the birthplace of Renaissance. I have to say that I've lived in Italy much longer than I ever did in Venezuela. So I'm a little bit split at this moment in my heart, in my head. And I'm also a teacher. I teach at the Florence Academy of Art, where one of the places I studied. I'm directing the advanced painting program there. I've been part of the school first as a student and now as a teacher, or being a teacher for a while actually, since I very first arrived to Italy. So that probably is the closest I could call home, really. I think inspiration, ideas to me come from many ways. I am not the person that only fishes for inspiration in one pool, and I allowed everything to impact me, obviously. I also tend to be a little bit intellectual, so I may read books or impose to myself an idea or a challenge. You know, if this has been the image, the most painted image in the history of art, what would I do? You know, that's what I tackled to try to paint, for example, a crucifixion. Mm, and when I say what would I do, I don't mean what would I do new, and what I don't mean what can I come up with that nobody has done. That is not really what I mean. Because there's very little that we can invent now. I'm not saying that's not possible, but also I don't think that is the aim of art. Um, Maybe the aim of science and technology maybe could be something like that. But I think art is more a building up. You know, culture is dynamic and accumulative, and we all are, you know, dwarf on shoulders of giants. So I think it would be wrong to think I come up with something completely new because nothing is really completely new in art. We all building on top of, which is the beauty, you know, of being part of a whole humanistic tradition. So what I mean by that is, what would I do that have not been done before? Is what commentary would I give to this idea? You know? Which is basically a little bit of the task that Herbert von Karajan, or Furtwängler, or Dudamel, or Claudio Barro, these famous conductors would have when they say, what would be my commentary on the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven? And that is the personal commentary that somebody, the personal point of view that somebody can have of something so famous or less famous. And that is what interests me. That's what impacts me. I work on a very, let's say, academic way. So I have an idea, I draw it on my sketchbook. Usually my ideas uh, come like that at any moment, usually the images, and I draw them very small. We call that thumbnail drawing sketch. And I leave that boiling for a while, and it gets kind of like on a train, and everything is moving, but they're waiting to be developed, to be the first wagon. And eventually, one of them says, "Okay, I got it." You know, it gets mature, and I start doing bigger drawings, even some color sketches. And usually, I just don't use models at this moment because I'm not sure exactly where I'm going. Eventually, I have a strong idea and I have a strong feeling. Most, you know, like I feel the urge that yes, this is something that I would like to paint, and I can't not live if I don't develop this idea. So that's the moment where I hire models. This is interesting because the models that I hire are not just a reference. I don't start a painting until I find the model that I think looks or acts or like impersonate the person that I want to paint. So I just don't get a random leg or a random head. I actually need a very specific person because that for me is the model. Is a person. It's not a tool. It's a relationship, and a model is a huge part of the work. So I explain the model exactly what the idea is. I may send them videos, images, sometimes even readings so they get involved into the project. And then we start. I do drawings from life. I do a color sketch. And I usually, if it's more than just a head, which is most of my paintings are more than just a head, I do a final cartoon. A final cartoon is full size, final size, render drawing of the whole composition. And what that allows me to do is to, first of all, be certain of proportion, rethink my whole idea at the final size, and evaluate and test the negative spaces, positive spaces. And if I have some doubts on some movement, I can then, play with it. Sometimes on my cartoons, I even test colors, So that's at the end of the final cartoon, I transfer that into my canvas, and then I start painting. I usually tackle the painting all at once. So I may have a first layer, which basically is covering the whole canvas. And it may take me, obviously, depends the size of the painting, but it may take me a day or two to a week or a month, depending how complex the painting is. If it has 3 figures life size, 4 figures life size, which I've done, so it may take longer. And the whole idea is to kind of cover the canvas. What I'm trying to say is that I am not the artist that starts on one head, finish the head, and then paints the arm, paints the other arm, then paints the legs, and then moves to the next figure and paints the head and so forth. Nothing wrong with that, but my brain, I just don't work like that. And also my training there, I was trained to work and tackle the whole canvas as one thing. So I have a first layer. I use usually an odorless thinner, and very thin, meaning not fat, not oily. And then the second layer is where I tend to use the least medium possible and build the quality of paint and leave brush strokes that I would like to stay till the last layer, so you can see them. So if I want a very specific impasto or very specific movement underneath the chiaroscuro or the shades, then I do that at the moment. So I may get a palette knife and put chunks of paint in specific places, let them dry for a week or two, and then paint on top, and then sand down. This is something interesting because this is where painting is not just a 2D image, but it's actually an object. I'm not saying it's like a sculpture, but it's definitely an object. And you build an object, you use your hands to build, thin, sharpen, or soften this object. I had this experience once. I was invited by this people, man. They had a Velasquez, and it was a sketch of a Velasquez painting. And he said to me, because I own this painting, I allow you to touch it. And I'm like, okay, good. And it was a study for the Forge of Vulcan at the Prado. And I went to touch the painting. And the muscles and the legs and everything was, imagine a coin, when you touch a coin, the profile, and you just feel a little bit of the zygomatic or the chin, how it comes and recedes. It was exactly like that. And I thought, wow, yes, it's the object. He's not just painting an illusion, he's building the illusion. And it's very interesting on a painter like Velázquez, where we all think, oh no, it's just glazings and velaturas and very little paint and just transparencies. And when you see his sketches, he's so concerned about form and how the canvas also is two-dimensionally modeled. So this is the moment where I probably spend the most time, as I said, building, deciding, thin, and what I would like the painting, the object to look at the end. Then I start using a more fat medium. I like some thicker oil, and I thin that with turpentine. And then I start doing modeling, start expanding the key of the painting. This means before I may have been using only 4 values. Now I'm going to expand it to 6 values or 9 values. I may have gotten quite gray shades or neutral shades better. And then I want to start emphasizing chromatism, non-chromatism, colors and warms. And for that, I would like a more fat medium. And then the last stage, I may add some Canadian balsam to this. And then at this moment, I'm working a lot less with the model because I've got a lot from them. and I'm spending tons of time just observing the painting. And this is what I said to my students, this is the moment where you need to ask yourself, not so much what should I paint, but what should I not do? You know, what is that I should just stay away from, because it's the painting really that should paint himself and needs to mature and kind of do it by himself. You know, we live in a very fast society in a moment where, you know, we send messages at the instant and people want to see images resolved very quickly. But there was a moment where painters will do one painting to several paintings at a time, but one painting will take a year, two, even 10 years, 10 years to complete one picture. And I think that has to do a lot with the fact that the painter, yes, has an idea, but the picture, the painting itself is an animal for himself. It should develop and it should grow and become itself. You know? So sometimes I think we impose too much on our work, not allowing the work to be what it should be, because we're creating something for its own to don't belong to us anymore, but to just, you know, be a new being that will have its own life. As I said, I studied on a classical manner at the Florence Academy of Art. So there we teach limited palette. So that will be lead white, preferably. I work with lead white, yellow ochre, English red, vermilion, and black. And that's really the very limited palette. That's what some people call the Zorn palette, after Anders Zorn, who was a Swedish painter who claimed to paint only with those colors. That's how we know the Zorn palette, or limited palette. After that, that's for the studio. Sometimes if I need a colder black, I would add cobalt blue. That would be my first blue to add. And if I needed a deep warm black, then I would add to the palette alizarin crimson. If I needed a more brilliant yellow, then I would probably go for Naples. After that, I call them colorini, like little colors. And colorini, that little colors that allow me to get to very little shades, but they're not the fundamental shades. They're just moments that you want to emphasize some acidity or some chromatic moment on your painting. So this colorini, little colors, for me, the chrome yellow. The substitute today would be carmine yellow, and transparent red oxide, and ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, maybe sometimes even add a couple greens, earth green, and even viridian. But a tube of this colorini would last for years in terms that I don't really use them that often. Lately in the mosaic work, there is a more bright color palette, and mosaic is all broken color. Then yes, I actually use a more extended palette. But this is what I would say is more applied art. It's not really what I do. I'm decorating a church, which is actually made of mosaics. So me trained as a draftsman, as a painter, now I'm decorating mosaics. So that's very interesting.
So during these historical times we're living in, so during the COVID-19 pandemic, what do you think is the function and the role of arts?
And this is very interesting because this pandemic, the word says, it has spread everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere in the world, with very, very few exceptions. And it's something that have probably never happened before, that really touched the whole world and stopped us all. And I'm sure there's something positive about all of this. You know, there's not bad that for good would not come. So I think one of the main comments that I see, but also myself reflecting, I think the idea of slowing down has allowed people to rethink, to reestablish the ladder of interests and priorities, and I'm pretty sure that things will be different. I really hope that we won't go back to where we were before. I really believe that we will see nature differently, maybe more at the same level, and don't feel that we are both. I really believe that we will see each other, not just our neighbors, but each other in terms of globally. And we will see everybody in the globe again as equal, the same level, eye levels, and not like, well, something that hits so far, that doesn't touch me. We're beyond that now. And I think we learned all of this. And what is interesting is that the arts have always told us this, but literature, music, you know, imagine this: we are all human sensitive. We're all sensible. We all would listen to a beautiful melody and feel inspired and happy or whatever it may be. So literature, art, theater, music, I've always said we are all the same. Nature is beautiful. Let's enjoy nature. Let's make monuments to the human soul, to the human brain and mind. And so I think the arts have confirmed in this moment that this is the way that we are the most human, right? I think we need to learn to be more human than what we really think we were able to. And I think COVID-19 has reminded us of this. Um, the artist is the person that creates something that everybody can enjoy. Hopefully will make people happy and alive. And that I find that is freedom. And I think this is what art have done mostly during this time. Freed people in their close self-choice most.
In Venezuela, and so you come from, you know that there are countries that have the realities even more difficult, like the one we live here in Europe. What would you say to a young person? It not necessarily has to be a Latin American, but let's think about a Latin American a girl or boy who wants to engage into arts. From your experience, from what you did, what would you tell them? How would you encourage them, and what would you recommend to them?
Well, this is a very touching and personal question towards me. I come from Venezuela and actually come from humble backgrounds. It's not like my family had all the means to say, "Oh, you want to go to Europe? Absolutely go. We'll buy your car while you're there." No, that was not me. Um, so my first thing that I would say is, if you really, really want to do it, and if you really want to dedicate your living, your body, soul, and mind to something. It doesn't need to be painting. It could be anything. It could be cooking. It could be astrology. It could be physics. It could be science. Whatever it is, whatever your passion is, believe 100% on it. Close your eyes and see yourself there doing it. That I think moves mountains. That I think that the will, the power of the will, people would recognize that around you. People will see that aura around you, and somebody, trust me, somebody will open a door, and then somebody inside that room will open another door, and then somebody else will open another door, and you will walk through all of these difficulties. Um, it's it works. I mean, I know it's very hard for example situation, but not only in Venezuela, in many countries. The other day I was seeing an interview about this guy who escaped from Kenya when he was 9 years old. It took him 6 years to arrive to Barcelona. And he was telling the whole story, how he was sent back, and how he was slaved, and how he was sold, and how he got lost in the desert twice. And then he was there now, trying to help other people. That's hard. That is really hard. Anyhow, if he made it, if I made it, and many people have done it, you can make it too. You just have to believe on it.